Welcome back, everybody. How y'all doing? Everybody doing good? Welcome to summer. Summer's officially happened. I've got the beautiful and lovely Diana here to give us, to ring in all of our guests, and then Tom Mosley will be coming in with our video of the week.
Thank you. You're welcome. When I call your name, would you please stand so we can give you a warm Kiwanis welcome? Jim Reschenberg has brought with him, again, Frank Wilson. I think this is your third time, Frank? Great. Representing the YMCA is Lisa Strutt. Where are you, Lisa?
Hey, Lisa.
We have Priyanka. Did I say that right? Priyanka Patel. She is a scholarship recipient from Southeast High School, and she brought her sister, Isha Patel.
Hey, Isha.
And we have our favorite photographer, Lily Sasay.
Hey, Lily.
And we have a Manatee High School key clubber, one of our favorites, Christopher Fleck. Where are you, Christopher?
Hey, Chris.
He dresses so nice. He sort of puts us to shame, doesn't he? Sharon Barhorse has as her guest someone new to the area, Julie Stanley. Julie, welcome.
Hey, Julie.
And Janine has an intern but doesn't want to be announced because she's shy. So, I hope y'all come back and visit us real soon.
So this is called Celebrating the Small Wins. So I'll That's the kind of dog I need, right? We all have days like that, so the video of the week.
It's at this time that we're going to recognize two of our newer members. This is long overdue. They've been amazing and kind of hit the ground running from the second that they came into our club. The two members that I'd like to recognize at this time and to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves to you are Ray and Jan Shaberg. I am going to ask Ray to come up first. I was going to, Jan paid me. She said that you get to go first. Yeah. And then this time, if I could ask someone from our membership committee, Christy Cardillo, to come up. At this point in time, we are going to be giving you your certificate and your pin. We are welcoming you, continuing to welcome you in the club. You've been amazing, participated in so many of our events, and our club is better because you're here.
Well, thank you.
And I want to thank you so much for being in Bradenton, Kiwanis, and we look forward to having you in our club for years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have the floor.
Dr. Holy? Dr. Holy?
Well, my name is Ray Shaberg. I am the lesser half of the person that's going to speak next. But in any case, I'm partially retired. I work for a utility company, GML Coatings, who is a corporate member. And I've got 5 children. My oldest is going to be 40. It makes me really old. She's a St. Louis police officer. Been on the job for quite a while. Very proud of her. I like golf and music, play guitar. Been doing that for a little over 50-something years. So I'm going to get it right eventually. But in any case, I appreciate it. Love working with the Kiwanis. Just absolutely stunning. I love all you guys. So I appreciate it and thank you. And next.
Not that this is a competition, but Jan, you've also been amazing. We really appreciate everything that you've done. It's same thing. I mean, from the second you came into this club, you immediately just jumped in, wanted to help on our projects. You have such a passion for helping the children of our community. We're so lucky to have you. Thank you so much for being in our club, and we welcome you. And again, we are so excited that you're going to be here for years and years and years and years in this club. Thank you so much. Thank you. You have the floor.
Hey, y'all. He didn't say it, so I'll get right down to the main part of the business. Ray and I are proud parents of an 11-year-old cinnamon dachshund named Lily. I thought we just had to get that out in the open right now. I'm with Ray. This is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I feel connected to the community and in a way I never have been. For those of you who don't know more than just what my pin says, I'm a former banker. I'm a retired second-generation big band singer. My father was a first generation who sang with the original Glenn Miller Orchestra. I am currently in about my 20th year as a freelance writer. I am the author of 3 books and another one on the way, so they say. I love being in Manatee County. I love being in Florida. I've been here since 2003. My husband and I met in Florida and married, and we'll be celebrating our 10th wedding anniversary this year. So we're happy to be here with you guys and hope to be here for many more years, as long as you'll have us. Thank you.
For those of you that were at our meeting last week we gave a number of scholarships and bestowed a number of scholarships upon some of our key clubbers that are part of our scholarship recipients. We did have 2 applicants and award winners that were unable to make it. They are here today. We're very lucky to have them. We're so excited for you and congratulate you on obtaining these scholarships through Bradenton Kiwanis. The first scholarship recipient is Priyanka Patel. She is from Southeast High School. She's a graduate of Southeast. She has served in a position of leadership within Key Club for all 4 years. First as a freshman class director, then 2 years as club secretary, and finally as club president during her senior year. Under her leadership, the chapter received a recognition for their Quidditch for UNICEF's Eliminate project. She also engaged in service through football game parking fundraisers, Walk for Life, Kiwanis Corn Dog Booth, and Kids Against Hunger food packaging. Priyanka will attend the University of South Florida, majoring in biomedical services. Her parents are Dharmesh and Manal Patel. Her sister Isha is here today to celebrate with her. With that, I would ask Priyanka Patel to come up to obtain her reward with our many congratulations. And we'll do one photo at the end. Come on up here. Next is Christopher Fleck. Christopher is a graduate of Manatee High School. He has been our leadership track from day one in Key Club. He is credited with initiating new member programs while serving on the club's membership committee, serving as club treasurer as a sophomore, and serving as division lieutenant governor as a junior. He was recognized as the Robert F. Lucas Outstanding Lieutenant Governor. That's pretty prestigious. In addition, he has logged over 600 service hours for participation in a number of Key Club service projects. That is fantastic. Chris will attend the University of Florida, where he will major in biology. His parents are John and Elizabeth Fleck. Please congratulate Christopher Fleck with a scholarship on behalf of Bradenton Kiwanis. And Priyanka, if you wouldn't mind coming up, I'd like to get one quick photo. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Captain Dennis Romano from the Manatee County Sheriff's Office. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. I know Dennis personally. We've worked together for, I've been there 18 years, so how?
I've been there longer.
How you've been? Yeah, he is phenomenal. His team does amazing work in keeping our children safe. With that, please give a warm Kiwanis welcome to Captain Dennis Romano.
Good afternoon. I'm not much of a podium speaker, so I may seem a little out of place because I like to wander, but I'll stand here to keep you from getting neck sore. I've been with the Sheriff's Office since 1990. Today is the beginning of my 29th year, believe it or not, June 26th. So my daughter pointed that out to me this morning. I've been in very many roles. I started in corrections, so I babysat the guys that we now put in jail, and I was one of the original 13 boot camp officers that opened the juvenile boot camp back in 1992. I transferred to patrol in 1994, which is the same year I met my wife. I've been in investigative roles most of my career since then. Since 95, I've spent about 5 years in uniform. And otherwise, the highlight of my career was my Special Investigation Division time, narcotics and vice. Picking up hookers and buying drugs is a lot of fun when you can do it legally. It was just a blast. I've had an interesting career. I've been promoted through the ranks. I've been very lucky to be a supervisor in all the investigative units that I've worked as a detective. My first stint as a detective was actually in the Crimes Against Children unit, which is where I'm supervising now as a captain. As the captain of the Child Protection Investigation Division, we basically have every facet of the organization that protects children up until about 2 months ago when the school resource officers were transferred to their own division because we were adding so many. So they're no longer working for me, but I do still have ties to them because my guys assist them when there is a school, threats, or anything like that. So I'll tell you a little bit about the criminal side of my unit first because the meat and potatoes is the child protection side. I have about 10 crimes against children detectives, 3 domestic violence detectives, 2 sergeants, one that runs each one of those units, and I have a sex offender unit. The sex offender unit is 1.5 deputies, and we're trying to add more. Hopefully do it this year when Neil gives me the money to do it. So we're working on it. So our sex offender unit keeps track of about 520 registered sex offenders or predators in this county. The sex offenders have to register twice a year, re-register twice a year, and we do address verifications 4 times a year. The predators have to register 4 times a year, and we do address verifications on them 4 times a year. So those 2, or 1.5, because it's a full-time deputy and a part-time deputy, stay very busy. And twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year, we actually put together, for lack of a better word, a posse of our reserve unit guys also, and they assist with the address verifications and going out in the community and checking on the sex offenders. The domestic violence unit stays very busy, 3 detectives and a sergeant. Domestic violence is still a huge issue in our community, and there's no way to protect, there's no way to pretext when it's going to happen, so we just are reactive. You know, domestic violence case comes in, my guys work it. I have 2 victim advocates that go out and assist with the victims filing injunctions and getting the help they need. But inevitably, those 3 detectives probably carry a higher caseload than any detectives in this agency because there's always a suspect, kind of like the crimes against children detectives. So I have 9 crimes against children detectives who probably carry a caseload of about 60 to 90 cases at any given time, and the turnover's quick. Mainly because, once again, there's always a suspect. You don't get a child abuse complaint and never know who it is because it's usually a parent, aunt, uncle, whoever the guardian is. There's a lot of legwork to be done, so they spend a lot of time on these cases because it's not like a property case, like a burglary. Some of those burglary detectives may have 100 cases, but half of them will never be solved because you can't find a suspect. You know, you may be lucky to have a good fingerprint and you'll find a suspect, but our guys always have suspects. So they're listening to, we make an arrest, they listen to jail calls. They do, for lack of a better word, wiretap calls. We call them controlled calls with our victims. So when we have a weird sex case and the child's willing to talk about it, and we can sneak up on the bad guy and place a phone call to a bad guy, and this child can talk to the bad guy about what they did, it's an amazing tool for us to put somebody in jail, and we do it. We do it quite frequently. All of my detectives get just incredible hours of training. I'll send them anywhere we can send them so that they do their job better. And as far as I'm concerned, I have the best detectives in the agency. They're all really good guys, hard workers and ladies, and they keep me updated as to what we're working on day in and day out. So the Child Protection Division, Child Protection Unit. So in 1997, Sheriff Wells, Ricky's dad, decided to take on child protection. There's 6 counties. I think we just added a 7th. I just missed a memo before I left the office I should have read, but I think the 7th was just added. They've been talking about adding, but 6 counties in the state do child protection outside of the Department of Children and Families. So Department of Children and Families does the other 61 counties, and then there's 6 sheriff's offices that run child protection. We're one of them. We're the original. We do that a lot around here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit how it works. 1-800-96-ABUSE. Somebody calls the hotline. A case gets accepted by the hotline for, I'm just going to throw out their child abuse. It could be, you know, a child at school has a bruise on them. One of my child protection investigators has 2 different responses. There's either a 24-hour response or an immediate response, which is considered less than 3 hours. They go, they commence the case. They meet with the victim. So Neil will tell you, I'm about to bash DCF a little bit, so I apologize if anybody's here, but this is one of the big problems that we run into with CPS in the county, and then DCF not in our county. So side by side, we do a criminal and a, for lack of a better word, civil investigation, child protection and crimes against children. So the allegation comes in, it's child abuse, and a deputy goes to the school, and so does CPS, and they go see the child, and the child says, you know, last night my dad hit me with a belt. Okay, investigation rolls on, and they'll get a full statement from the child, then the detective or the deputy and the child protection investigator will then go see everybody else in the family, go and interview the parents, go interview all the other children, you name it. Well, here's the problem. So when child protection goes to the house and law enforcement goes to the house and the kid says, the victim says, I fell off my bike. Well, right then and there, you know, there's no child abuse. So the deputy writes it up, you know, no abuse, the case is unfounded. Child protection can't do that. Child protection still has to go see all the children in the home, has to interview the parents, have to talk to the teachers. So it's kind of it's a lot of work to unfound a case because they're not allowed to unfound a case. So that's one of the hoops that we, or one of the guidelines, we have to continually jump through the hoops to get our investigators to clear cases when there's a lot of work to do it in order to get it cleared. So I'll get back on track. So child protection, say the allegation is of a felony nature, and then a detective gets assigned. So we have partners in town who will do forensic interviews for us. It's called the Child Protection Team. So we get an allegation the child has an injury that rises to the level of felony, whether it's a sex abuse or heinous child abuse, and we take the child, or we have the child brought to the child protection team for forensic interview, and they do a recorded forensic interview, which is a great tool for us because we have it when we go in front of the judge for shelter hearings, or if we make an arrest on the criminal side to prosecute somebody for child abuse. So we work together with CPT. We have a CPT doctor who is on staff and does medical examinations for us. They'll file reports. We get copies of the reports. It goes in the child protection investigator's file, and the process continues. So maybe we determine that we can't make a charge. We can't arrest for the child abuse, right? And the detective ends up closing his case. Even if they make an arrest and the person gets found not guilty, the criminal side is closed. Child protection still stays involved with that family somehow. When child protection gets a case, they have 45 days to get it submitted for closure. Whether it's ready to close or not, they have to have it ready for closure. And what that means is everything, all the legwork they need to do in order to get that case to close has to be done within 45 days. The case has to be closed in 60 days. There's only 3 exceptions that it can stay open longer. One is a child death, one is an open criminal case with it, and one is the child's missing. So the cases get submitted. It's still not over. So the partners in the community, Safe Children's Coalition and some other, I can name a bunch of them. They then become the caseworkers on any of the child protection cases. So if we close a case, and I'm just going to say the children had been sheltered, right? So say we take the children out of the home. I know I don't have a lot of time and I can talk, so I'm watching my clock. I won't keep you late. So child protection shelters children. And we determined there was something that caused these children to be in danger, so we take them out of the home. We always try to put them with relatives. I mean, 50% of our children get placed with relatives. I'll give you some numbers here in a minute because you're going to be shocked. We end up closing our case with verified findings of abuse or neglect. The children are sheltered, and the Safe Children's Coalition now does follow-up. And it could be for months and months and months, with the sole goal of the parents have the right to get their children back. So they work case plans, which they have specific criteria they have to meet in order to get their children back. So back to one of our issues is, inevitably, these parents normally get their children back. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I've seen cases where I can't believe we give children back, and I see cases where, well, the parents made a mistake and they've worked hard and now they get their children back. It can go both ways. But something that is interesting is if we had an open case of verified findings within a year and another report comes in on that child, the Department of Children and Families puts together what they call a CIRT, Critical Incident Rapid Response Team, who basically come down and judge us on the job we did protecting children. Totally needed, totally expected that, if we put children back in a home and then there's another allegation of abuse, they're going to point their fingers at us because we put children back in a home where there was danger. So, we do what we have to do. So there's a lot of checks and balances, and then it starts over again. So, now we're back involved. There's a new allegation. We're dealing with the same family, and a lot of repeat customers. So I will give you some numbers. Last year alone, we had over 4,000 received cases from the hotline. 4,000 calls to the 1-800-96 line that came to the Manatee County Sheriff's Office Child Protection Investigation Division. Of those 4,000, it's about 400 a month, okay? And that means that each one of my investigators gets about 100 cases a year, that they have 45 days to close each one, okay? 447 children were removed from homes last year. Half of them were placed with relatives, or at least somebody they knew. So 220 children were, probably sent to foster care. Imagine, I would assume most of us in the room have children, and I was telling them a little while ago, my 16-year-old left about 30 minutes ago on a flight to Houston, She's going with her church group. And I'm nervous enough knowing she's going to be coming back in a week, yet these people's children get taken from them because they don't raise them properly, okay? I couldn't imagine being in that position. 41% went to foster homes. And there's not enough foster homes in our community to handle this. So there are times that my child protection aides actually drive these children across the state to a foster home that's compatible. When we remove 5 or 6 kids from a home, we try to keep them together. But it's very hard to put 5 or 6 kids in a home where, you know, an elderly couple is a foster home and they just can't handle 5 or 6 kids. So we got to find a place that can really handle that. So we do a lot of traveling at times. When we do shelter children, we have a hearing within 24 hours in front of a judge. The judge can either uphold the shelter or basically tell us, no, we don't have enough probable cause. You know, the kids need to go back to their parents. The parents, if we do shelter the kids, once again, they have a case plan they have to work. If they can't meet the objectives of the case plan, it goes on until they can, because they're not going to get their children back until they can prove that they can handle their children and raise them properly. So the school safety issue still too, with child protection and the SROs. When there's an allegation or any type of threat now, even though the SROs handle it and they're no longer part of my division, child protection is also going to be involved. The legislation set forth by the governor, actually my first meeting is Thursday, in order to solidify how we're going to try to track some of the problems that may be in the school, and CPS is going to be involved in that also. So I have 3 minutes, and then I'll ask for questions. So I have 39 investigators. I have room for 40. I have 8 supervisors on the child protection side. I'm losing 3 of my investigators because they were accepted to go to the police academy. They work ridiculous on-call schedules. I told Neil I wouldn't bash DCF too bad, but I will bring it up, and I feel for my people because of the way they have to do their investigations. I've never worked with a more passionate group of people when you talk about these people who want to protect children. And several of my investigators, they'll volunteer time, even though we don't let them. They would volunteer time to do their jobs, and they do an incredible job for me, and I'm very proud of them. And I try to tell them that as much as I can. So it's an interesting division, a very interesting division. Do I have any questions? Yes, ma'am. I'll tell you, we don't see a lot of juvenile suicide in Manatee County. I honestly couldn't tell you the last time we worked one, and I would have been out on it. So I don't see it high. I'll tell you that if we track it, you'd see it as they become adults probably. So that's why I don't see it. So I don't necessarily have the tracking for that. I could probably find out. Yeah, but I'm sure it's higher. Someone else, back there, Mr. in the yellow. Normally they're child custody issues. You know, dad's unhappy, mom's got a new beau, and allegation comes in that new boyfriend's beating the kid. You know, we can only follow facts. So when the investigators go out, they get a lot of training as to how to obtain information to find out whether it's a false allegation. Very hard to prove. The 1-800-96 abuse line keeps track of everything. So if you call in on a cell phone, your number is, you know, caller ID. If we start noticing that there's been 3 and 4 and 5 reports, and it's different names, but the same phone number, red flags go off. So we do track stuff. Children themselves very rarely make false reports. I mean, there are some kids that like to embellish, and we deal with that a lot, where, you know, you'll see a kid at school who's got a bruise on his leg, and, you know, the teacher asks, you know, what'd you do? Oh, my dad hit me with a broom. And, you know, you start asking all the other kids in the house, and they're like, my dad doesn't even have a broom. I mean, you know, we follow the facts. So there are ways to find out, you know, whether it is or isn't a false allegation. Very hard to prove the criminal intent on the divorced spouse ones and stuff, but we do follow them. So, right. So let's say child protection goes to the house, and they say, you're not coming in. we go to get a court order. So it's kind of like getting a search warrant, but we go to the judge, we tell the judge, listen, we have an allegation that, you know, the house is filthy, or the children are not being fed, or, you know, whatever the allegation is. And normally, it's fairly easy to get a court order as long as we can show that we have a valid reason to go in and protect the children, okay? We get it on every angle, though. The law enforcement side gets the non-cooperation, the CPS gets it. For the most part, people cooperate because I just don't think they want to cause problems. So it's very rare that we have to get a court order to get in the house. But we do get it here and there. Yes, I was on that scene. So I'll tell you, it really didn't. Here's what happened. So I may have gotten myself in a little trouble on this case because the media, I apologize to the media in here too, printed that we allowed the children back in the home even though the boyfriend was living there. So the Safe Children's Coalition was doing the casework on the case. The children were being reunified. The day before the child was killed, the judge signed off on the reunification. The mother was working her case plan to get her children back. And the Safe Children's Coalition would go to the home and do unannounced visits, and they did what they were supposed to do. What do you look for to find out if there's a guy living in the home? You look in the closet to see if there's men's clothes. There were no men's clothes. You go in the bathroom, you see if there's men's cologne, you see how many toothbrushes there are. They did all that stuff, right? Mom was saying, he doesn't live here. He's no longer living here. We have to, you know, at some point we have to believe Mom. You know, everything she's saying matches up with what they were seeing. So the children got reunified. Turned out the boyfriend, I don't know if this is absolutely correct yet, but the boyfriend was actually working for the apartment complex that she was living in. He was like the maintenance guy. So we think that he may have had an apartment in the same area, yet the information we had was that he was living in Clearwater. So the call came into the hotline, or the call came into 911. So here's the following the facts, okay? Mom comes home, meets with law enforcement and says, I left for a short time to go get medication for my kid. I ran to the store, but on the way there, my son called and said that the other son was doing bad. Well, we got the 911 call, and the 911 call was obviously an adult. It was an adult male. A fireman from across the street assisted with CPR. I mean, it was just, you know, you follow the facts and you learn that boyfriend, I won't get into the graphic details, but he beat this child with the shower curtain rod, and it was just it was a terrible, terrible thing. So it's interesting you asked about that because we got a call not too long after the investigation about, you know, how could you let this happen? And I said, what do you mean, how did we let this happen? How about the mother who let this happen? How about the mother who allowed this dirtbag back in her home after he abused her children a year and a half ago and we took the kids, and then she thought it was okay to let them back in the home with him? So that was where I got in a little trouble because I sometimes let my temper override my heart. Yes, sir. You can spank your kids. You can spank your kids with a belt or a paddle or I didn't grow up in the South, but a switch, I guess they call it on the tree, you know. I'll tell you, I got beat up great many times by my dad. My dad's a retired cop. And I can remember getting smacked around and, you know, my dad worked all day, my mom didn't. So, you know, I have two brothers younger than me who always picked on me. And my mom would be like, you wait till your father gets home. And we'd run up the stairs giggling. But as soon as his car pulled in the driveway, we were scared to death. But I'll tell you, it only made us stronger. And I probably went to school with bruise, and this is many, many years ago. I probably went to school with a bruise here and there, but never thought twice that I ever was abused, okay? So here's the problem. We're scaring our parents, okay? I'm not saying spanking kids is totally allowed, all right? I've never had to raise my hand at my child. She's 16 now. I could look at her crooked and she'll start crying. I mean, it's just the way you raise them. But here's a problem. About a year ago, our patrol guys arrested a woman because she smacked her kid. I'm trying to remember what the utility was. I want to say it was like a spatula or something, and it left a mark, okay? They arrested this lady. She gets to the jail, and somebody there listens to her story and calls the supervisor, and the supervisor says, well, we got to get this squared away. Here's what happened. It was like a 10-year-old boy who pushed down an 8-year-old girl at school earlier in the day and stole her purse or her book bag or something, right? Mom found out about it and smacked him. I mean, just lit up on him. Well, the punishment kind of fit the crime. So it's not so much the injury that occurred. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, you break a kid's hand or a nose or something like that, you're going to jail for abuse. I mean, there's no reason to cause injury to a child. You can smack them with an open hand and nobody's going to think twice about it when the punishment fits the crime. You can smack them with a belt. You start leaving welts or like extension cord marks or things like that, then it gets, you know, when there's injuries, it gets to be too much. But there's nothing wrong with, you know, smacking your kid on the butt or, you know, grabbing him by the arm and dragging him out of the store because he's out of control. And you'd be surprised how many people think that just the minor disciplining of a child is abuse, and it's missing. Once again, I'm not saying you have to do it, but there's definitely some discipline missing because you see the way our children are turning. They're shooting people in schools, you know, so yes, ma'am. Yes, when we do case plans and the parents are working towards, and even if we don't take their children, sometimes they get case plans, parenting, training. And I don't know all the organizations because there's so many, and there's a few on my list here, but you know, Whole Child Manatee, Diversion, Centerstone, Healthy Start. We partner them up, and I know I got to get done here. We partner them up with the training they need to become better parents. There's no doubt, because that's where it starts. Before I wrap up, I'm going to say this. So aside from the child protection thing, the Manatee County Sheriff's Office is having a huge problem with crime, okay? And it's happening everywhere in the state of Florida. And I feel for Sheriff Wells because he's going to get the finger pointed at him at the end of the year because crime's probably going to go up, and it's been down for 7 years. And one of our biggest problems is the unlocked car burglaries and leaving your purse or your backpack or your book bag in the car. And I didn't tell you a lot about my wife. I've been married to her for 21 years. She's my best friend. But there are times that she just irritates me because she doesn't get my job, okay? So she'll tell me, but there's nothing in my backpack. It doesn't matter, okay? When you leave something in your car that looks like it could have something nice in it, those people in your neighborhood who are out there at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning walking by checking door handles are going to take it, and you're not going to get it back because when they find nothing in it, they're going to throw it in a pond or in a dumpster or whatever, and we still have a case to investigate. So please stay on top of your vehicles, and if you see something, say something. The community is very, very shy when it comes to calling 911 when there's not an actual crime occurring. If you see something suspicious or something you think might be suspicious, call 911, because I'm going to tell you this. I and all the people I work with would rather come out and find nothing than have to come out at 7 o'clock in the morning and dust your car for fingerprints, okay? So don't be afraid to call 911. Thanks for having me. Take care.
We want to thank you for giving us so much information and kind of enlightening us on a few things and some of the disturbing information that's out there. And we want to give you our highly coveted golden rule to help you measure your future success. So
Very nice.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all. Very nice. Thank you.
Unless there is something else, and I do want to thank everybody for taking those mangoes last week. Thank you so much. And we are adjourned.